Fellow citizens, today we are told to accept presidential results announced by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Justice Byabakama. But I ask, accept what? Results or a rehearsal of force? How do you call it? An election when the internet was deliberately shut down? When citizens were cut off from information from each other and from the truth? What were you hiding if everything was transparent? How do you call it a free and fair election when citizens were brutalized, intimidated and arrested? Not for violence, but for exercising their civic duty and for daring to observe their own future. How do you call it a civilian process when the army took over electoral duty, guarded ballot boxes, controlled tally centers, and became both referee and a contestant? Since when do soldiers count votes? Since when do guns interpret ballots? And since when does the will of the people wear uniform? Polling agents, the law witnesses of vote, were arrested, detained, and chased from polling stations. Supporters were rounded up not because they broke the law, but because they believed differently. If polling agents were arrested, who verified the vote? If witnesses were arrested, who testified the truth? We are told votes were counted, but who counted them? Where were the independent observers? Where were the journalists? Why was no Ugandan allowed to follow the electoral process except the army? Okay, I ask again slowly and clear, which results were announced? Those chosen by the people or those prepared for the regime? Democracy does not fear observers. Truth does not fear cameras. And legitimacy does not fear scrutiny. Only fraud fears daylight. We reject these results not out of hunger, but for lack of clarity. Not because individuals lost, but because the nation was denied its voice. An election without agents is a courtroom without defense, a verdict without trial, a sentence already decided. Truth has a long memory.